there's a few people that can't make it. So I'm going to go ahead and record it, and then I'll drop it on the I'll put it on my YouTube page for all the people who are not able to be on. They can go back on and watch the replay. Okay, so I'll keep an eye on everybody else who's joining, but we'll go ahead and get it started. I'll kind of kick this off. I got a few points that I want to touch on, and then some information that I want to read just off of the parent handout. It's like a little thing that we used to just print out and have parents sign it and do everything, but I'll read it to you guys. If you have questions, you can reach out to me, and then as we get the process going, we get everybody in and practices and things like that, Corey will be accessible as well. So first and foremost, thank you everybody for showing up to tryouts. Thank you everybody for accepting your offers. We do have a few more guys that are still undecided on different things as far as accepting or declining the offers. So I did update rosters on the website. Now those website updates do reflect people who have declined the offer, but I did not remove anybody who's undecided yet. So you'll hold on, sorry, there's more people trying to get in. Let me just send this link to them really quick. Okay. The updates on the website reflect people who have accepted. People who are undecided are still on the rosters. I haven't removed them, but they're still just kind of deciding on the roster spots. So that's why you kind of see a few different rosters and different information and different players and things like that on there. But we're hoping that everybody within the next little while, we're hoping that everybody gets their acceptance in. I'll just kind of go through these in order. So my name is Landon Cummings. For those of you that are not familiar with me, started the Legacy program back in 2016, ran the program until 2022, merged the program with a different program. That lasted a few months and it wasn't a good fit for me. So I resigned from my role as a director after that merger, in which Corey replaced me as the director of that role. Corey was a legacy coach with me since 2020. So he was part of that merger with me. I stepped down from that role, took a little bit of time off. Corey stepped into that role to finish the 22-23 year. And then he fulfilled that role full time in 23-24. I brought the Legacy program back in the fall of 2023 with a group of kids that didn't make their high school teams that wanted to keep playing. And so I brought the team back, just kind of got that coaching bug while I was still coaching at Bingham at the same time. So I was coaching the sophomore team at Bingham. I was also coaching a team of kids that didn't make their sophomore teams. And so I was kind of doing both. Ran that team through the winter, had a lot of success, undefeated season, won a super tough championship game with that group. We roll over into the spring, and just through the posts about the high school age guys, a few people reached out to me and said, hey, we got boys in 5th grade. Some of the boys that you coached at the other program were interested in coming back and playing again. And would you be interested in having a 5th grade program? So in March, right after high school season ended, we started a 5th grade program. We played March, April, May, June. We finished our season in July. Super fun group of boys. really reignited that passion to coach and to be around the guys again. And here we are. We've got great coaches on staff. We've got a bunch of returning players. We've got a lot of little brothers of former players, and we just got a really, really good group of kids between fifth and eighth grade going into the fall. And I'm super excited. Corey and I talk every day, multiple times a day, and we have mutual excitement to work with your boys. We got really good coaches. We have Calden. We have Jason, who will be returning. He was helping me with the fifth graders last year. We have Jordan. We'll have Ty Norton coming in and helping. We'll have Danny Dupay coming in to help. We got some really good coaches, coaches that are eager to learn, coaches that are eager to get to know the boys and just kind of keep progressing and growing as coaches and helping the boys learn the game. We're going to change a lot of stuff from the past to being more competitive. And we've I've talked to all the coaches and they're all on board with really putting a bigger precedence on defense, really putting a precedence on teaching boys like actual basketball terminology, like pin downs and cover downs and slip screens and ghost screens, and just giving them the language and the basketball IQ that I know our coaches can give them. And historically, our coaches have done a really good job at preparing our boys for whatever that level after is, whether they're elementary guys wanting to make a middle school team, middle school guys wanting to make high school teams, guys that have never traveled wanting to play on travel teams. So super excited to get to know your boys. You'll meet the coaches, will start being in practices next week. Coach Jordan Thompson is out on vacation. I'll be running the first 2 days of his practices. He had a vacation planned before I knew what day we were going to do this call. So he will actually be away for the first few, but we're going to loop him into the group meets and get the communication started with him. I want to address that the sixth grade black team, we have not come to an agreement with a coach that I feel is the best fit for that team for the days that they're going to be practicing. And I don't want to short the I love a lot of the kids on that team, and I know that I have an idea of the type of coach that I want for that team. So I know that this is the only team that we haven't announced an official coach for, but Corey and we were talking about it earlier today. We have some guys that we're going to talk to over the weekend. So please be patient with us. We'll send out invitations to join GroupMe, which is the app that we use for mass communication. From a director standpoint, it's just easier to bring in everybody into one forum like GroupMe, where we can add parents, or parents can add the players, or parents can add step parents, or drivers that are going to help commute kids across town to practices and things. It's just easier with GroupMe. They've done a lot of updates. It's a lot more functional now than it was before. So I will start creating GroupMes. I'll start sending you guys GroupMe links to your phone numbers. Add the other parents. If one parent's contact information is not all that I need, feel free to send the link to other parents. They can join. The players are allowed to be in the GroupMes. We're not going to talk about anything that they can't, be privileged to hearing. We will create the sixth black team, and until we find the full-time, the permanent coach, I'm going to step in and get practices going and get guys rolling. I think we're going to have a coach sooner than later, but I don't want them to not be able to practice. And so I will step in and I'll get them rolling. I'll start practices next week with that group. Everybody will start practicing next week. We will, the website is reflecting roster changes prior to this call. I just updated it maybe a couple hours ago. So if you and I have talked, if you talked to Corey, if you went in and accepted in the last like hour, maybe hour and a half, you're still on that website. And if you've declined, then you're probably still on there, because I haven't done an update for tonight. But the rosters online are pretty accurate. And they will be, and I'll continue to update them as players continue to accept and decline those roster spots. Rosters, players never grade. Oh, we do have every grade. So fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, and eighth, we have guys that are coming in. They'll be coming into the first practice on kind of a impromptu evaluation. So based on their experience or lack thereof, or what program they were with, we have multiple kids. We have 2 kids in 5th grade. We have 5 kids in 6th grade. We have 2 kids in 7th grade. We have 6 kids in 8th grade that we're going to bring into practice. We've already evaluated your kids and kind of placed them where we think is the best fit. That's not to say that there aren't bubble guys. And so bubble guys are guys that are, we look at it and we say, oh, you're probably going to be a big minute guy and play a ton on this team. But if somebody doesn't commit to this team, then there might be an opportunity for us to move you before the season starts. I know that I've talked to a few of the parents and they've asked about players having opportunities to move up and down. It is possible. In a perfect world, we'd like players and coaches to build cohesive relationships and help the whole team stay together and move up. So in theory, that's the way we would do it. But we're not going to say there isn't situations that justify maybe removing a guy and moving him to a different team, and then that kind of ups the minutes and the roles for other guys within that first team. So it'll all be kind of handled on a case-by-case basis. Coaches will kind of initiate it if they feel that some movement needs to take place. Conversations with the parents, conversations with the players, and just kind of everybody getting involved. There's a lot of transparency in the program, so there's not going to be a lot of things that happen that people are just confused, like, where did that come from? There will be a lot of transparency. There will be a lot of conversations. So if your player ends up in one of those situations during a season or throughout the year where the whole team isn't ready to move, those conversations will be kind of handled on a case-by-case basis.
Then just to double back on that, Landon,
Yeah.
we do have more people signing up as well for to come and be evaluated. So there will be more kids after the initial rush. A few more that are going to be coming over from where I was at, and then yeah, just so everyone knows, we will have more kids coming.
Yeah. So especially if you go and look at the updated roster and you notice your roster went from 8 guys down to 5 guys, don't panic. Like, there's a lot of movement this early. We did our tryouts a little bit earlier than other clubs, which kind of gave us a pick of better players and guys that are a little bit more eager to play. And so there were people that were out of town on vacations and different scenarios. Everybody's got kind of a different scenario. So just know, if your team, if you go look on the website and you see that your team only has 5 players, by September 13th, when the season starts, you're probably not going to still have 5 players. Just trust me on that. We were gone for 2 years. We were gone from 22 to 24. And realistically, I honest to goodness thought, if I get 30 kids to show up to tryouts, like, for me, that's a success. And we had 103 kids register for tryouts, and we've still got more kids that want to come in and be evaluated. So if your team went from 8 players on Wednesday down to 5 players, don't panic, because I guarantee we will be able to field a competitive team for your kids by the time we start the season, and more than likely probably within the next week or two. We did try out 6 weeks before the season started for 2 reasons. 1, player movement. 2, to give guys an opportunity that may have missed tryouts a chance to come in, get evaluated, get placed on a team if they fit, and then still have time to get acclimated to the system. So it was strategic to do it this early, and I kind of knew we were going to run into some issues by doing anything before the 24th of July. But I think the turnout that we got was amazing. We've got super talented kids in every grade. And so if your team's roster is small today, I promise we'll be fine. We will field a complete 7 to 8 player team for your for your son's team. Um, so I'll go into players and parent expectations, and I'm glad that I see some of the boys on this so they can kind of hear this as I go through it. So, yes, we are a youth basketball program, but at the same time, we want kids to really understand what it means to be a part of the program. The benefit of a director and an owner that have experience with high school basketball is we kind of up the ante a little bit in the expectations from both ends, from the players, from the coaches, and the parents to put a better product on the court. Okay, so I'll just read through the parent contract. It's not a contract. We're not having anybody sign anything, but just kind of some of the things that we would like the parents to understand and to be on board with going into the beginning of a season. And then I'll read what we call the athlete agreement. It's just kind of the stipulations we ask the players to kind of agree to, and we ask you as parents to help us reinforce, because we don't know what 80 something different kids are doing when they're not in school, but you parents do. So I'll kind of go through this. I think this is going to answer a lot of your questions. Again, if I don't answer something, feel free to drop it in the chat. I'll chime in on it after I'm done reading this. And then if Corey has any other things to add to this, we'll have him jump in on that. So the 2024-25 Utah Legacy Parent Contract. Welcome to the 2024-25 season of Utah Legacy Youth Basketball. The purpose of this program is to form competitive teams to develop the players' skills in preparation for playing at a high level. This is not a recreational basketball program, and our teams are not intended for everyone. This program is not an alternative for the Junior Jazz program. These are competitive teams playing in competitive leagues and have been established to get the best basketball players in Salt Lake County and the areas playing together. Practice and games. The teams will practice 2 nights a week. Although the size of the program is decent, practice locations are set for the entire 24-25 school year. There will be no league games scheduled during most national holidays. Since we are practicing at schools, we do have to be flexible with practice, understanding that school events will take priority over our rentals. Exceptions will be made for these few and far in between circumstances. So I'll pause right there and I'll just throw this little bit in. All of the schools that we practice at are close to public schools that school districts rent. If we're unable to practice on a certain day because they have something in the gym, all the schools are in agreement to give me a far enough notice that I say, okay, in 3 weeks, we don't have a Thursday that we normally practice. I can submit a request to a school district to rent a private gym or a school and fill that same practice time and day just at a different location. That information will be relayed to you guys through GroupMe or through whichever way we think will be the easiest for all the parents, whether we type out a whole schedule and then we mark certain days that we're going to be at a different location, or coach says, hey, reminder, this week on Wednesday, we're not at this place, we're at this place, but we'll figure out a way to communicate that to you guys. Okay.
Yeah, and I feel like on off weeks like that, we'll put because we're gonna make like group me events for games so everyone knows when games are. But for off weeks like that, we'll do group me events so everyone will know like practices change. And I'll make sure we repeat it a bunch in the group chat so no one's surprised when it happens.
Yep. And that's a big thing you guys are going to figure out. Communication is super important. And if we're all on the same page, we can alleviate a lot of things. Attendance at all practices and games is mandatory. So with that said, we get it. We have multi-sport athletes. We have football guys that we've put on rosters that we may not even see in a practice until the end of October. We get it. Baseball guys, you play baseball in the spring. Your availability to be at practices and games fluctuates in the spring versus your availability in the fall and the winter. We get it. Just communicate with your coach. We've tried to outline as many multi-sport kids as possible on each roster Some rosters do have a few more players because we're not going to have our football guy in the fall, but then he comes back in the winter. The baseball kid's there in the winter. And in the spring, the baseball kid's gone, but the football kid's there. There's a logic behind all of the rostering, and it makes sense. So when it's time for your multi-sport kids to miss a practice, or we've got games at the same time, we're going to do this, or we're going to be late because we're coming straight from this to this, just communicate with your coach. So when I say attendance is mandatory, it's more so of like, if your kid can be there, please have him there, minus like disciplinary actions. He's acting up in school, he's being mean to his brother or sister, he's lost the privilege to go and play basketball, that's fine. Players' parents will be able to discuss conflicts with other sports with their coach and work out arrangements if needed. Missing a practice without notifying the coach prior to that absence could result in the player not playing in the next game or reduced minutes per coach's decision. Now, the reason we say that is because if your coach puts in something new, all of our coaches are going to be sharing different stuff. Corey has a really cool set called Early. It's not anything that any of our other coaches have ran. And so if we decide Corey's going to come to practice, show this team that has the players that can run early offense, how to run it, and we put it in, and then we get to the game and your son doesn't know the early offense, he's probably not going to play a ton in that game because he missed that practice. And that's just, we have to be at practice so that we can teach them whatever the coach is trying to implement, or just reviewing things that we did well and didn't do well in the last game. So each coach will manage this in the best interest of the team. Having players absent affects the entire team and what they're working on. With that said, multiple absences could lead to dismissal from the team, or at least we sit down and talk with the parents and figure out why he's missing games. If coach doesn't know he's playing different sports, or if something else is coming up, we'll sit down and have a conversation with the parents. Leagues, all teams will play in a league that may have weekend and or weekday games throughout the fall, winter, and spring seasons. We will relay this info to parents as soon as possible to give us as much advance notice for planning and scheduling to make sure players can attend games. The guys who run our leagues are pretty lenient and pretty flexible. We just got to communicate with them. And if we have a coach with multiple teams, it's hard for that coach's teams to play weekday games because it's hard to build a schedule around one guy. So for the most part, we're going to request Saturday only games. At the end of the day, sometimes we might have multiple games on a Saturday. If we get our schedules and our registration in early enough, for the most part, it's a very good chance that we just play one game per week. So that's kind of the expectation, is that we can get Saturday only games and not create any schedule conflicts with coaches having to miss weekday games or weekday practices for weekday games. This program has been developed to help your sons and daughters, if possible, to become better basketball players and to build up the Utah Legacy program. We ask that you help us build this program and not tear it down. Questions or concerns about the program should be directed to your players, team's head coach. They're happy to have reasonable and productive discussions with parents. At no time will any of our coaches discuss playing time in front of other parents or players, nor will we discuss other members of the team other than your son. If you feel the need to address a more serious issue with your player's coach, do so in private, in a mature manner, after your emotions have calmed down and you are in a rational state of mind and are ready to talk to the coach. This may not be immediately after the game or practice, so please exercise your best adult judgment if you need to have a more serious conversation with the coach. If you feel a third party needs to be involved, please contact me, Landon, or Corey. And Corey will be in every team's group me, even the teams he's not coaching. He'll be in every group me. As the director, Corey will be very visible. You'll see him at practices. You'll see him at your games. You'll see him in the group me's. Corey will be posting different things. He'll be available for direct messages or text messages. So between Corey and I, if you feel that you need to get one of us involved to address a situation, please, again, just feel free and open to communicate that. Reach out to Corey or I and explain the situation, and we can mediate a conversation between you, the coach, and myself if you prefer it that way. If you feel there is a conflict that is clearly not resolvable, please contact Corey or myself. This is not a recreational program, and a certain amount of playing time is not guaranteed for any player. If you're looking for an experience where everyone gets a trophy and all the players play equally, this is not for you. Real life doesn't work that way. This is an opportunity for kids to learn that they have to earn what they receive. Playing time is earned in practice, and success is earned in practice, both with the team and as an individual. The best thing you could do for your player is encourage them to work hard in practice and put in time with them for individual skill development, or get them with someone that can directly work with them specifically on their individual skills. I am perfectly open to you guys finding trainers. I know a few trainers. I train, Corey's trained our legacy guys in the past. Ty, one of our other trainers, or one of our other coaches, trains. Calden also does training. There's other coaches if you live in different parts of the city. I love kids that are willing to put in work outside of practice and games to kind of create that separation. As they say, the separation is in the preparation. The kids that usually stand out in games are putting in more than just the minimum amount of work in practice and games. So if that's something that you're interested in, reach out to me and I can kind of direct you guys to a few people. But I highly encourage you, even if it's just, hey, coach, what should we do? I'm going to take him to the rec center. I'll give you things to work on. Hey, we're going to shoot in the driveway or in the backyard. What should you work on? I will give you a million things that you can work on your own, or they can work on their own, that'll help make an improvement in their game. We expect all Utah Legacy teams to be competitive with any team in their division. We are building a tradition of winning and excellence on and off the court. Coaches will be coaching to develop players. Some of our younger teams do not have a lot of experience, and they will have to work through that. We're looking for those teams to improve in skill level, basketball IQ, and competitiveness. Every team's not going to win a championship the first year. I would love it. I would love to get 11 championships in the first year. It probably won't happen. But the goal is to progressively get better and progressively have things make more sense to them as they continue throughout the year. So developing their basketball IQ, understanding the game, their skill level, and their competitiveness is a process. And we just, as cliche as it is, we have to trust the process. All players grow and develop their basketball skills at different speeds and timing. Some players grow early and have success at an early age. Some players grow later and have more success as they get older. Whether they grow early or late, the players that keep working can have success at the high school level. Conversely, those that stop working will not see the same level of success. Over the years, we've seen many players in both categories be successful at different playing levels. Players need to be grouped in like talent and basketball IQ levels in order to maximize their learning potential. No different than grouping math students in the same manner. Please let our coaches do their job. Cheer for your kids, encourage them. Please don't go on the floor at halftime or yell out instructions during the game. This just confuses the players. You may be reinforcing the coach's instructions or contradicting them. Either way, it confuses the players as they do not know who to listen to. Kids hear mom's familiar voice. Kids hear coach saying something. If mom's saying, shoot the ball, go get the ball, it might not be a play for him to go get the ball. Let the coaches coach, cheer on the boys, tell them they're doing great. When they make a mistake, tell them it'll be all right. Grades. This is something that we really ask the parents to help us with as far as like reinforcing. Academic success is just as important to us as basketball success. All players will be expected to maintain a 3.0 GPA or the equivalent for elementary and middle school age players. If at any point basketball becomes more important than coming home and getting your homework done or finishing assignments in school and those grades start dropping, let's have a conversation, because we don't want them to think that they're obligated or they're entitled to play basketball just because they're a good basketball player. If they're not taking care of business in the classroom, then maybe they need to miss a practice and do some catch up on their homework or whatever the case. So if grades start sliding and all they care about is going to basketball practice and we have a game against this team and we got this cool new play, anytime basketball becomes more important than taking care of schoolwork, let's have a conversation, because we don't want to set that precedence that, oh, you're good at basketball, so nothing else matters. We reserve the right to make changes to the team roster as we deem necessary. It is very unlikely, but players may be moved from one team to another throughout the course of the year. Players that do not attend practice consistently or have behavioral issues may be asked to leave. We reserve the right to add players to any team at a later date. Utah Legacy basketball teams are formed for play year-round. We will play in the fall, which is the middle of September-ish to the end of October. Winter 1, which is the beginning of November to the end of December. Winter 2, which is January to the end of February-ish. The spring season goes from March until the end of May. Multi-sport kids will be handled on a case-by-case basis. We'll also have a summer program that runs June through the end of July, which is what the fifth graders just finished with their practice on Monday. Legacy pride. As our teams compete in these different events, each and every one of us represents the basketball program as well as our community and respective families. All players, coaches, parents, fans, etc., must conduct themselves in a positive manner. So that's the gist of the parent side of parent expectations. Let me jump in here really quick and see if there's any. I don't think there was any questions in there. Nope, no questions. Okay, perfect. So I'll jump into the player side of what we're kind of expecting on their end. And then I think I only have a few other points, and then we'll open it up and let Corey kind of jump in and chime in on a few things. So Utah Legacy Athlete Agreement. Utah Legacy Basketball has established certain rules by which young men and women who participate in the competitive sports program are expected to abide by. Student athletes represent the program and their families. To eliminate any misunderstanding about these rules and the related consequences, it says please read and sign, but I'm just going to read them out to you. Student athletes must adhere to the regulations detailed in the contract at school, at home, and team activities. The use of or possession of tobacco, illegal drugs, alcoholic beverages, the abuse of any prescription or non-prescription illegal drugs, or where am I at? I just lost my spot. Possession of drugs or drug paraphernalia is forbidden and will not be tolerated, regardless of the quantity or form or intent. Violation of this rule will result in immediate suspension from all athletic programs. Athletes are expected to conduct their behavior in a commendable manner at all times. Verbal or physical displays of negative emotion directed towards opponents, officials, or spectators is not acceptable and will not be tolerated. We'll constantly remind them that they are there to play basketball, not referee. They're there to play basketball, not yell and one because they think they got fouled. Their job is to play basketball. Refs are there to officiate the games. And so we'll constantly remind kids that you're here to play basketball. Any acts of violence or acts that are criminal or illegal in nature are unacceptable and result in immediate suspension from all athletic programs. hazing, initiation of any kind is forbidden. To be eligible to participate in any athletic competition, a student must be, well, full-time students, we have homeschooled students, must not be failing more than one class in a quarter prior to participation and must be earning a GPA of not less than a 3.0 for that quarter. The word represent is defined as following: to be in uniform on a competition day or night, warming up with the team, be listed on the program or roster if applicable. So if we say that they're excluded from participation with the team, then they may be asked to come to the game and watch the game and understand what we're doing or working on, but they may not be playing. It is suggested that parents or guardians have some form of insurance protection for the athlete while he or she is protected in competitive athletics. Utah Legacy will also provide insurance through Sadler Insurance, which will cover all participants for any event they do with Utah Legacy, practice, games, or team builders. And then it just says the players have read the rules or heard the rules and understand the consequences, as well as the parents. So that's the gist of it for the kind of the parent packet and the players packet side. Pretty straightforward. Respect the program, represent the program well, have fun, compete, play hard. If you have questions, talk to your coaches. The coaches are people too. If you need to ask a question about something specific, go to the person who can kind of make a difference or give you input on it. I think one thing that gets kind of convoluted when you have a program of this size is a parent has an issue and then they go and talk to another parent, and now these two parents are kind of bickering back and forth, and then they get another parent involved. Well, none of those people can solve the problem. None of those people can answer why is the team losing games by 3 and 4 points. None of those people can answer why a kid who's in practice every day doesn't play more. None of those parents can answer those questions, but everybody's chattering. Nobody wants to have a conversation with the coach that can make a difference and make an impact on maybe solving some of those, answering some of those questions. Are stats going to be kept or should it be done individually? If that's something we would like to have. There are programs out there that we can keep stats with. There's programs where we can go live and stream videos, and we can record videos, and we can post it for the boys to go back and watch, or for coach to break down a film. We will have answers for you on that when we get to practice. I kind of want to sit down and talk with Corey on that. We've talked about so many other things we haven't talked about, like stats and things like that, but it's something we're open to. I think it kind of gives us a tangible proof of, okay, little Johnny shot the ball 16 times, the next closest kid shot the ball 5 times. Why is he shooting the ball so much? And that can kind of identify certain things. Or if kids say, I want to be a guy who gets to shoot more threes, and we can bring up the last 5 games and say, you're shooting 10% from the 3-point line. You need to put in more work outside of practice and games if you want to be a more consistent shooter. So it's something that I'm open to. I'm not going to say yes or no, but we'll definitely address that on a team by team level with you guys once we get into our set teams. Let's see here. Players' expectations, parents' expectations, fundraising opportunities. Yes, for sure, Michelle. We'll get into that too. Are the boys able to play with Bantams through the school year? I personally feel, I'm gonna get back to you. I'm gonna keep my personal opinion out of that. and I'm gonna make sure Corey and I are on the same page. So Kristen, we will definitely address that again soon. Do not lose that question. We're gonna revisit that question before the end of the first week of practice. That's my commitment to you. First payment due. Okay, so first payment. Okay. Oh, my computer's gonna die. Give me 1 sec. I gotta move across the room. Okay. So the first payment, we will, so just for the sake of simplicity, we would like all the payments to be in by the 3rd of each month. All the gyms that we're using have a very hard payment of the 5th of each month. So if we have all the payments in by the 3rd, then our automatic payment processes on the 5th. If automatic payments fail because we don't have enough payments in, then we lose access to that gym for that month. And to put it into perspective, between 11 teams, we're using 2 gyms. So if we don't have the payments in, it causes a huge logistical problem. And I don't want to put out that fire. I'm going to put out a lot of fires this year. I don't want to put out fires that I don't create. So if we can have payments in on or by the 3rd, that would be ideal. We'll send out little reminders on the 1st just to say, hey, if you haven't already sent it in, please send in your monthly payment. How much is it? So the monthly payment, I'll break down the payments really quick. So that's actually an easy segue to part of this. So the monthly payment is $225, and the breakdown of that is going to be part of that goes towards their gym rental, part of that goes towards their coaching fee, part of that goes towards their insurance, because we do cover insurance on all the kids in case something happens and there's not a primary insurance. Ours can cover as primary. And then we're going to do a team builder every single season. So that team builder could be anything from like a pool party, that could be going to round 1 or Ninja Kids or bowling, a ton of different stuff that we want to do. And so that will go towards that team builder for every team at the end of every season. Part of that will come from the monthly fees. Their uniform.
But oh, sorry, just to interrupt real quick.
Okay,
And by
yeah,
every season,
quick.
you mean the
their
fall
uniform.
league, winter 1, winter 2.
Yeah. So
Yeah, just so everyone, it's not just one team builder at the end of the year. You will have 3, 4 team builders.
Yeah. So at the end of the fall, at the end of winter 1, right before they go to Christmas break, or during Christmas break, at the end of winter 2, and then at the end of the spring season. So at the end of every season, when the league gives us our 2-week break between the end of a season and the start of a season, we'll do something outside of practice and games for the teams. Now, with that said, we have multiple teams in some grades, so we might take all 4 6th grade teams and have a big 6th grade party. We might have the 6th grade black teams go do something, and then the 6th grade gold teams might go do something else if the coaches want to do different stuff with their group. So that team builder will actually be at the end of all 4 seasons, even though the winter is split into winter 1, which is before Christmas break, and winter 2, which is after Christmas break. So those are the 4 things that are covered in that monthly payment: that fund or the team builder, the insurance, the gym fee, and the coaching fee. So I could pay the coaches. So that's what goes into that payment. If we can get the 225 payments in before the 3rd, that is ideal. Their uniform will be a one-time charge. We'll change uniforms every 2 years. So some of these guys will probably be in the high school program before they have to order a new uniform. So their uniform will be 1 pair of reversible game shorts. Then they'll have a reversible practice jersey and a reversible game jersey. Our 5th graders really like their practice jersey, So they actually wore their practice jersey in games. So they'll have technically 4 jerseys that they'll be able to wear. A fade jersey that goes from white to gold to black. They'll have a gold jersey, which is our team color. Then they'll have an all black jersey and an all white jersey. So they'll have 4 jerseys. They'll have black shorts and white shorts that are reversible. So that uniform package is $80, but you just pay for that once every 2 years. The way that we'll do that is I'll create a spreadsheet and you'll just click on your spreadsheet for your grade. You'll put in, I'll probably preload all the players' names in there, but you'll say what size jersey, what size shorts, and what number he wants on his jersey. The number he decides will have to be on all 4 jerseys. He can't wear different numbers. And then for the sake of us maybe needing kids from this team to play on that team for a game or a tournament or whatever the case may be, then kids within the same group. So I'm going to make it super easy. The kids on your spreadsheet, so you're not going to have to click through 5th grade. What is my son on this team or that team? The group me that you're in, you'll get one link to a spreadsheet. You'll click on it. You'll find your kid's name. You'll put his size. You'll put his number, and you'll be done. So we'll simplify that. 2 kids on the same spreadsheet, even if it's this black team and this black team, if they're both 6th grade black teams, no 2 kids can have the same numbers. So on the numbers, it'll kind of just be a first come, first serve kind of thing. Okay. Returning players need to buy a new jersey package this year. So technically, Ben, no. So what you guys will do is you'll just order your reversible practice jersey, because if that's been Gabe's dad, might be. There's a lot of Bens in here. But it's been Gabe's dad, then you will get, so Gabe already has his black and white jersey, but his practice jersey is only the fade jersey, but we need him to have the fade and the gold jersey. So you'll just order the practice jersey, and that'll just be a fraction of the cost, and I'll figure that out. I believe it's $20 just for the reversible jersey. 20, 25, 25, 30. I'll double check. I'll figure out the breakdown because I have all the numbers from my supplier that makes everything. So I'll figure that out. I think it's $20. Might be 30, 30, 20, I think is what it broke down to. 30 on the jersey, 30 on the jersey, 20 on the shorts. So you'll just get that. You'll just order your gold and fade reversible jersey. Returning players also keep their numbers. So if Hudson wants to keep his same number, he can on his black and white jersey. And then when he switches to his practice jersey, we'll just order the number for the practice jersey. If you guys want a different number altogether, he can keep his shorts, and then we just switch his number on his jersey. I know Julian wanted to be number 12, but Blake's number 12. Or no, Jake wanted to be 12, but Blake's 12, but Jake and Blake aren't on the same team. So the reason Julian wore 21 was because he flipped the numbers on 12 since he couldn't be 12. Well, now Julian has the option to get number 12 since him and Blake are on different teams. So now Julian doesn't have to be 21. He can order number 12 on his new jerseys and just keep his shorts, if that makes sense. So if Hudson,
Landon, will you have the numbers of the returning kids posted so the new players won't conflict with their number?
Yeah. So when they go in,
okay,
all those numbers will be posted. And then if the returning players go in and they say, oh, Hudson was number 3, but he wants to be number 1 this year, she can manually change it. And I'll know from last year who wore what number. So yeah, it's up to the returners. I know Jake wants to change his number. If somebody else wants to change it, you're more than welcome to. I mean, the simple answer to that is we only had 15 kids last season. So the majority of them got the number they wanted. I know Will Spikers always wore number 9. I've never seen him wear a jersey that wasn't number 9. So Will's probably not going to get a new number. I know Jake wants a new number, so he'll probably be changing from 21 to 12. So for those two teams, that'll be easy. I'll just plug in their numbers from last season, and if he wants a new one, change it. Yeah.
Hey, Lando, you missed one question above those ones as well. Just wanted to give you a heads up.
Returning players. Okay, so I am going to set up so I have a Venmo account. So if you just send that to, you'll send the payments to my Venmo, and then my Venmo is connected to our business bank account. So as soon as it comes into my business Venmo, it goes in. But because it's a business Venmo, my payments hit fast enough. So if you send it on the 3rd, or I mean, if you send it on the 1st, 2nd, or 3rd, then it's still in the bank in time on the 5th before the automatic payments from the gym come. So I'll post the Venmo and everybody will be able to see it if you don't have it already. I'll link it to the website. Obviously, all of you went to the website at one point because you all saw your kids' names on the accepted players. So I'll put it on there. Corey and I will create group me's, and then as we start adding you guys to the group me's, I'll pin the Venmo at the top so it'll always be in there so you can always see it. And then let me see. So payments due on the 3rd. So what is the 3rd? Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Okay. Yeah. So I'll get the Venmo to you guys. I'll make sure that everybody who doesn't have it can have it or have access to it tonight. And I think most of you, obviously, if I sent the link out, I have your emails. And I think there was only a couple people whose emails didn't get entered, or I had mom's info and dad needed to be on it. So I'll go back and double check with everybody who's on here that I have all their email information. Practice schedules. Yes, Corey and I have put a ton of time into building a very elaborate practice schedule that allows us to be able to watch practices, allows Corey to be in the gym literally 5 days a week and help the coaches with little things to make a big impact. So we will give you the practice schedules. It might be easiest for me to put it on the website first. I need to get the group me's. Once we have the group me's set up, we're going to be able to blast all this information. I think right after the call's done, task number 1 is just start sending out 1 million group me links. And the sooner I do that, the easier it is for me to get you guys stuff like the practice schedules and Venmo links and all of that stuff. So that's going to be my night job.
Auto pay.
I don't have an auto pay thing. I'm looking into like a Stripe thing or something where you can subscribe and put a card on file and have a payment come out every day of the same 1st or 2nd or 3rd of each month. I'm looking into those. I haven't really found one that I love. Here's one thing about me that you parents are going to learn. If you are comfortable with something and you know that it's something that would make our operation easier, bring it to me. I've had people say, hey, have you ever tried this? Or, hey, did you know that Quick Quack will let us do a car wash fundraiser? Or, hey, I didn't know what Chick-fil-A Spirit Night was. I didn't know for 2 hours in a day, on a day that they're usually not as busy, we can all go to Chick-fil-A, and everything that everybody orders between 5 and 7 p.m., we get a portion of it as a fundraiser. I didn't know that. A parent told me about that because their kid's football team did it. So if you know of, hey, Stripe has this program or this company has this program, send me a text and I'll happily research it. And if it makes all of our lives better, I will be overly appreciative. Multi-sport players, can they play when they can? Yes. If he is a football guy, because when they go back to school, football goes to 3 days a week. Now, if coincidentally one of those 2 days of our practices conflicts, but he can make it to one practice on the days that he's not at football, let's have a conversation about that. I'm open to it. I know football games are in the mornings. On Saturdays, I know A teams usually will have games around the same time. I know other teams will have games that could kind of be in the morning or later in the afternoon. If he's a football guy, let's have a conversation. I know baseball is a little more time consuming. So if it's a baseball guy, let's have a conversation. But if we can find a way to get him to something, so when he's done with football, he's not so far behind and doesn't have to play catch up, we would absolutely love that in an ideal situation. So if he's a football guy, let's talk. If he's a baseball guy, it's probably a little bit different, but we'll figure it out. Jamie, I'll post the Venmo. I probably won't post it here because we'll close this out, but I'll either send it out on an email or Corey and I will figure something out. But I think what I'm going to do is when we're done here, I'm just going to create a ton of group me's and we're going to start putting you guys in them because it's just easier to communicate with 10 groups than 80 different people. Yes, they are more than welcome to come as often as possible. Okay. Yep. What Corey said. And then Jamie, I'll post that. So that's, you guys actually jumped right in there and knocked out like a third of the things that I was gonna talk about. So that's great. Last three things for me, and then Corey's gonna jump in there. Rule of 4. That's gonna be kind of our golden rule. Is I've had parents say, hey, what team is our, or what division is our team going to play in? Are we a Division 1 team the very beginning? Are we a Division 2? Are we going to have a chance to move from D3 to D2? I'm going to give everybody the same thing, and this is going to be how we're going to govern this whole system for the season. It's a rule of 4. If your team finishes in the top 4 of the league, you automatically make it to the playoffs. Anybody below the top 4 does not play in that playoff day, and playoffs are one day. Team 1 and 4 play, team 2 and 3 play, usually at the same time, usually at the same school or location. And then right after that game, they play against each other again. So he tries to minimize extra rest, extra anything for either team that wins. And they'll usually, team 1 and 4 will play at 11 on court 1. Team 2 and 3 will play at 11 on court 2. The winners of them come to court 1 and they play the championship game. If your team is in the top 4 in their league, Corey and I are comfortable with that team moving up. Now, adversely, if your team is in the bottom 4, say there's 15 teams in the league, and you're down there somewhere between 11 and 15, we're probably going to talk to the coach and say, okay, what happened? Is it just the first season? Is it the pieces? Are the boys over? We're going to have to figure out what's going on in that bottom 4, because there are 4 levels, Division 1, 2, 3, and 4. And if you're in a Division 2 and you're bottom 4, we might need to move you down to Division 3, unless the coach can say, hey, we had injuries, we had this happen, give us another season and let us work through it. We talk to the coach and get that input. But for the most part, if you're finishing in the bottom 4, the initial thought is to consider moving them down just to build that confidence and figure out what's going on and get things on track. With that said, some of the kids that are coming in have played together, and we've kind of brought in groups of guys that we know have played Division 2, have played Division 1. You know, they played at certain levels in the years prior, and we know that certain teams, just from our experience, we know certain teams are going to be able to compete at a certain level on day 1. Okay. Our 6th grade gold teams are stacked, super stacked. a lot of talent on those teams. So I expect those teams to come in on day one, probably in Division Two. And I think one of those two teams probably makes a jump to Division One in the winter. With that said, our black teams are also really good. And the good thing about our black teams is some of those guys didn't play a ton during our spring season. And during the tournaments that we did in the summer, they played bigger roles, they hit bigger shots, they handled the ball, and you started seeing that progression and development. Now, by moving the guys that they were playing behind off of the team, it's going to give them an opportunity to play more minutes, play a bigger role. And we think that's going to be the success that we really see a quantum jump in those guys. So even if they're playing on a Division III team, the opportunity to go from being a bench guy last year to being a starter and playing a lot of minutes is really the next step in progression that we're hoping to see with them. And I just use the sixth graders because that's the team I'm most familiar with. It's not that the other teams aren't going to be competitive. We have a few teams that are a little bit undersized, but the guys that we have can get out and run. They can defend, they can shoot, they can score, they can trap the ball. So there are teams that may be a little bit undersized where you look at them and you say, oh, these guys are tiny, but they might go out there and double team you. And then when you throw the ball over the top, somebody flies through there and steals it and runs off for a fast break. So yeah, we might get posted up a little bit, but at the same time, there's other advantages to being smaller and quicker if we can shoot where the big guys probably won't move as quick. So the possibility of moving guys up and down as a team is something that we're really excited about. And Corey and I think that we're going to have a lot of opportunity to have some of those Division I teams sooner than later. And we're probably going to move D3 guys up to D2, and there should be a lot of movement. So that's something that Corey and I both talked about and that we're both really excited, but it's just going to be the rule of four. Where do you rank? If you're right in the middle of the pack, then you're probably in a good competition level. If you go 4-4 in an 8-game season, you're probably facing good competition, and we're probably going to leave you right there. Go ahead, Corey. What were you saying?
Oh, and I just wanted to reiterate that, like, our main objective is to have teams move up. As much as like we want to make individuals better, we want this, that, and the other. We want teams to move up because then they build that camaraderie, that teammanship, and it's better for everyone involved if the whole team moves up instead of like picking players up. I mean, certain, like Landon stated, certain cases that may be the what happens, but our main goal is to advance every team up, even if you are already playing at a high level, get you to even a higher level. And then the ones that aren't starting with not as much experience, get them that experience, get them out there on the court, and really push these kids to become better. Is what our main goal is to try to advance these kids as far as possible as quick as we can.
Yeah, exactly. Last major thing, and this is literally only applicable to about 15 or 16 kids in here, but this is for the high school parents. I was scrolling through the attendees and I see some of the high school players, parents in here. Super high level overview of what we do with the high school program. So you guys that are in 8th grade, if you come back, you kind of have an idea what we do with the high school age guys. And we consider our incoming freshmen high school guys and then everybody older. With the high school program, we do a fall program. The fall program is so during August, September, October, these kids can practice, they can condition, they can play in games. We know they're going to have open gym. We understand that open gym would take precedence over a club practice because our job as club coaches is to get these guys to the next level. That's the bottom line. At the end of the day, Corey and I have never sent less than 75% of our 9th grade fall players onto high school teams. And it's probably not going to start anytime soon because we have some super talented freshmen in right now. Okay. High school guys will play from August to the end of October, and then they'll go off and play on their school teams. Guys that don't make their school teams will have an opportunity to come back and play in the winter. So November, December, January, February. Guys that don't make their school teams will have opportunities to play in those 4 months. kids cannot play on a club team and a high school team in the same month or in the same time. So if you make your school team, no club ball for you until March when your high school season's over. If you don't make your high school team, then yes, you have an opportunity to come back and play during those 4 months of the winter. Once the winter is over and we get into March, April, May, which is that springtime, at that point, we create two different teams. We have one team that travels and only plays games out of state on the Puma circuit. And then we have another team that'll do local and regional stuff like Boise tournaments, Pocatello tournaments, Big Mountain Jam, Rocky Mountain Showcase. What was that other one called? Great Salt Lake Classic. A team that'll do that, that'll still be a really competitive team and still grow and get pushed, but they won't play in all of the out-of-state games that the circuit team does. So that'll be the separation when we get to the spring and summer with the high school age groups. With that said, we do have an opportunity to take what's called Puma Juniors, so 6th, 7th, and 8th grade teams, and put them in that travel season as well. So once we get into the spring, you'll kind of see like, okay, those are the team that travels, they're not playing games on Saturday, where teams that don't travel are playing games locally on Saturday. So that's just kind of a heads up, because I know some of the high school parents are playing in the fall, but they're not playing in the spring. And then there's some that are not playing in the fall that will play in the spring. So I just kind of wanted to differentiate the two. Oh, I got two questions here. Gold, black, white teams, are they going to compete? Okay, so I'll make it very easy. So the gold teams are usually the guys with the most experience that have been playing the longest. They will probably play on a higher skill level. So gold teams are usually going to be Division II or Division I teams. Black teams are guys that have played before, that have experience. Most of the black teams will either be Division III or Division II. And then the white teams will either be Division IV or Division III. So it really just kind of comes down to how long have they been playing, where their skill level is, where their basketball IQ is, and where we think they should start so that we can start the progression of making them better players. A lot of the gold team guys have played on Division II or Division I teams in the past, and so they're going to start at a higher level, a little bit more expectation on those teams. The black teams kind of have the best of both worlds, where they're going to have some returners, but they may have some guys that are newer that maybe aren't up to their level. So, the bench guys that would have been on a gold team are going to be starters on a black team. And then the white team are just guys, a lot of guys that play multiple sports, or guys that, in football season, they're playing football and they're not touching the ball. But then basketball season comes. Now they haven't got to play those 4 months because they were playing football. So while everybody else is playing 4 months, they're at the same place. And then they get the same jump in basketball season. And then they kind of plateau during baseball season. So that's kind of the easiest way to put it, is the gold teams are usually the more experienced guys. The black teams are kind of right in the middle. And then the white teams are the teams that we're the most excited to work with, because they probably were the guy playing junior jazz that everybody's like, why is he in junior jazz? Well, now we're moving him into a competitive setting where he's going to see better competition. He's going to get better coaching. He's going to start learning the game versus just being more athletic and being quicker than everybody else. So that's kind of how the hierarchy of teams of gold, black, and white teams go. And so to put it into perspective, our 6th graders, we have 2 gold teams and we have 2 black teams, because even the kids on the black teams in the 6th grade have a lot of experience and have come to us from different programs. The grades that we have white teams, they're not necessarily bad. They're just guys that we need to really focus on the development side and the understanding of the game side. So 6th grade, we don't have white teams. So all of our 6th grade teams will be Division III, Division II, or Division I. where other age groups, we may have a Division 4 team, we may have a Division 3 team. And that's part of why we did try out so early. Our registration deadline, I believe, is September 4th for the fall league. We're going to have plenty of time to see guys scrimmage each other, to see guys individual work, see how kids respond to making mistakes, or if somebody says, Coach, I need help shooting. How do I get better shooting? If they work with somebody, or if mom and dad take them to the rec center for an hour and a half, 3 times a week for a month, he will become a better shooter in that time. So we kind of did it on purpose so that we can evaluate everybody once we group them as teams, and then we can make the best decision on what level that team needs to start at. Are there specific tournaments we will be playing in, or is it based on each team? Oh, wait. I skipped the second part of that question. I'm sorry. My little chat thing scrolled up on me. Are they going to compete in the same tournaments and divisions? Yes and no. So again, it's just a familiarity thing. I know I keep coming back to the 6th graders, but that's the group I'm the most familiar with right now. Our 6th grade gold teams will play in the same division. So there is a possibility they'll play each other in the season. We put both of our 5th grade teams in the same tournament. And because it was a seeding and how we did after our first games, we ended up playing each other for to go to the championship game. So one team won and they advanced to the championship game, and then the other team went this way in the bracket. It doesn't happen often. And I can even request to say, hey, please don't put Utah Legacy teams against each other in the regular season. Sometimes coaches want the smoke. Sometimes coaches are like, we practice with these guys. They beat up on us in practice. We beat up on them in practice. Schedule us. Let's play in the season. And the coaches are on board and the players are like, yeah, this is going to be awesome. And sometimes we request to put 2 legacy teams against each other in the season. So I think once we get a better feel for where the teams are, there is a possibility that they'll play against each other in a league. Tournaments, it's kind of hit or miss. So tournaments, we can kind of differentiate and say, okay, we have 2 black teams. This team's kind of been progressing. This team's kind of been stagnant and kind of dropping. So we're going to put this team in Division 3 in the tournament, this team in Division 4 in the tournament. So they're never going to cross paths. And then we're going to take the 2 6th graders. We're going to put them both in Division 2. And if they play each other, they play each other. So those things, once the coaches get guys on the court and we know kind of a skill level and a basketball IQ and who can do what, we'll kind of figure that out. But there's a possibility they'll play each other, or a possibility they'll be in different leagues. Specific tournaments we will play in, or is it based on each team? Corey and I think we're both in agreement that we just want them to play as many games as they can within the structure of working on things as a team, even if they're playing at a
all teams will play tournaments. Oh, let me interrupt you real quick, Elsie. All teams will have tournaments that they play in. It's not like just because you're a white team and don't have the experience, you're not going to play tournaments. No, that's not how it's going to be. Every team can play tournaments. They all are going to play in the same leagues, just different divisions. But yeah, we want everyone to experience and get out there and play as much basketball as possible, as long as it's under the confines and we're still getting a lot of practice in, is our main goal. So, but yeah, every team will play in tournaments and everything like that.
And there's a lot of tournaments. Like, we're in a state that hosts a lot of tournaments. There's a group up in Farmington named Battlegrounds, and they literally have a tournament always. It's like back to school tournament, Memorial Day tournament, Labor Day tournament, 4th of July tournament, 24th of July. Like, those people always have a reason to have a tournament. The Jam On It people are very active here. They put on 3 tournaments every year. Historically, legacy teams do all their tournaments. They did Great Salt Lake Classic. They have 2 big tournaments, Big Mountain Jam and Rocky Mountain Showcase. We're going to do those regardless. There are a few holiday weekends where the league will not have any games. And so the league organizer and other people around town kind of say, oh, Memorial Weekend, no games. Nobody's playing games in the league. So let's throw a Memorial Day tournament. So those are kind of fun because our league is going to spread out 8 games over the course of 7 or 8 weeks. We might have a bye week. I mean, in a 10-week season, we'll probably have 2 bye weeks, but then there'll be one day, one weekend, one Saturday that the league won't have any games, and then we can go play 4 games in 6 hours. And so it's kind of fun to, I call it basketball boot camp, when we play a game, we don't have time to sit around and mope and pout. All right, we lost by 2. Okay, let's clean this up. We got another game in an hour. Or you see a little bit of success and you say, okay, guys, this is what I've been waiting for you to understand. Do that again. And so I love tournaments, especially when it's kind of sprinkled right in the middle of a season like Christmas. They shut down games for 3 weeks, but then somebody always has a New Year's tournament or a Christmas tournament. And so we want guys to play as many tournaments as possible. And I know that some of the coaches have already talked to me, and there's going to be a few days where these tournaments are going to interfere with league games. And if you're the number 1 team in your league and that one loss is going to knock you out of the playoffs, I've even had some coaches say, hey, if we get all the parents on board, or maybe we're 7th in the league out of 15 teams, can we forfeit this league game and drive down to Lehigh and play in a tournament that day? If you're going to sacrifice one game and go play 4 in one day, I'm probably going to be okay with it if the parents are on board. So leagues, tournaments, like practice is super important. I will never devalue practice as a coach, but at some point we have to take the things that we're doing in practice and we have to see if it works. And whether that means Corey and I both know a lot of other club directors. We know guys at SLBC. We know guys at the Rebels. We know guys at the Sonics. We know guys at, we know a lot of guys. We know a lot of people. Yeah. And so who knows? We might just have to sacrifice one practice and say, hey, the Sonics are coming in, or, you know, this team's coming in, and we're just going to practice with them. We're going to go through our warm up. We're going to split the court. We're going to go team specific. And then we're going to come in and we're going to scrimmage, and then we're going to come off and we're going to talk. And then the other team's going to scrimmage and they're going to come off. Like sometimes that's just what needs to happen for us to kind of work out some of these kinks and these bugs. And so I'll never devalue practice. I think practice is super important, but at some point we have to do the things in practice in a game situation so we know if the boys are picking it up. And the only way that we're going to do that is if we have to sacrifice one game, but we can go to Farmington and play 3 games in one day, or play 4 games in 2 days, but we have to miss one league game. We're probably going to do it just so that we can get those extra reps. But if you're a number 1 or number 2 seed, then you might not want to take that forfeit if it's going to mess up your playoff spot.
And then just to add on top of that, I will be getting polls into group me's once group me's are created. So I'll start pulling like early tournaments that I already know that we're not going to be playing that weekend. So we can kind of get an outline of, oh, this, if we can get enough players for this tournament, we'll play, and then kind of go down the line that way. So we'll have a line out of tournaments probably up to Christmas here in the next week for group me that we can select yes or no that we're here or we're not here on. So
Yep. So definitely download the GroupMe app. If you have an iPhone, by default, GroupMe does not, on the iPhone, the first time you download GroupMe and you set it up, for whatever god-awful reason, the notifications are turned off. So once you download GroupMe, you set up your profile, your name, your kid's name, whatever. I'll find it by your phone number. Set up your profile and then go into your notifications and just turn the notifications on. So that way, whether someone posts, hey, can anyone help me get a ride to practice? I can pick up your kids and they can come, you can pick them up at the house, whatever. Polls, practice notifications, coaches wanting to drop stuff off for the players, coaches saying, hey, after the game, we're going to go get Yogurtland, whatever. We'll do polls on the team builders. Download GroupMe. If you have an iPhone, turn your notifications on because it's a Microsoft product. It's weird. And And then if you are a social media person, which I know some people aren't, I am. It's the easiest way for me to network and to broadcast information about the program. So it's easy for me to post stuff on Instagram. Our Instagram is connected to our Facebook. So once I post it in one place, it automatically shares to the other. Utah Legacy Basketball on Instagram, all one word, or Utah Legacy Youth Basketball, maybe. If you put in Utah Legacy, the Legacy logo should show up on Facebook. That's a fan page. You can message that, or I mean, you can comment, you can DM that Legacy Instagram page. You can message that or comment on posts there. We'll a lot of stuff. We'll post videos of the kids. We'll post highlights. We'll post scores. We'll post all sorts of stuff. So if you're a social media person, Utah Legacy Youth Basketball on Facebook, Utah Legacy Basketball on Instagram, kind of Grand Central Station. And then on the fees, the way we do the fees is whatever the amount is for that tournament or for that league, we just split it evenly between the amount of committed players. So if we have 8 kids on a team, it's less. We won't roster more than 8 kids on the team. I think after talking to Corey, we kind of just decided that all of our teams have a lot of versatility. And if they're not already versatile, this gives them an opportunity to build their skill set. So instead of us saying, well, we need 10 kids on the team because this guy can't rebound and this guy can't shoot, that guy's got to learn how to rebound. That guy's got to learn how to shoot. He's just got to help the team. It's easier for us to have a smaller team where kids can play more, make more mistakes, make more good plays, just be on the court more than having a bigger team and splitting and saying, okay, you're going for him, and having a 2-man rotation at every player. Now, when we get into the travel stuff and out-of-state tournaments, it's a little different because some of these events get a little crazy when you're playing one game on Friday and then you're playing 2 games on Saturday and then you play another game on Sunday. But for the most part, our regular season teams, we will usually cap it at 8 with occasional 9-player roster if we know we're losing football guy in the fall and then we know we're losing baseball guy in the spring. Then we might have 9. So whichever one of those guys are out, now we have our 8-man team. And then just for a short time in the winter, we have a 9-man team. But historically, the winter is usually when people travel the most and miss most of the games. So it works out. But for the most part, teams are usually going to have 8. And if somebody's not able to play, we can look at another team in that age group and say, hey, your son plays at 11. This team plays at 2. Would you mind having him play on this team as well? Which is also another reason that they can't have double numbers because we get a technical of 2 kids in the same game have the same number. So that'll make more sense as we get into the groups. And download GroupMe, follow Instagram or Facebook, and then Corey and I will get these GroupMes kind of figured out. I'm going to let my cat out. I'm going to let the cat out really quick, but Corey's going to take over. And then if you guys have any more questions, drop them in that chat. Trevor, Corey will definitely touch base with you on that. So team fees right now, do not pay any team fees because we don't know how much the league is going to cost and how many players are committed. So right now it's league fees. It's monthly fees. And then I'll create a spreadsheet and send out links for you guys to put your numbers. And at the very top of the spreadsheet, I'll say full uniform, $80, jersey only this much, shorts only this much. So I'll break it all down in the spreadsheet. Corey's going to take over for a minute. And then if you guys have any more questions, drop them in the chat. I'll be right back.
Yeah, so just wanted to start off and let everyone know that I'm super excited to be coming back and working with Landon again. I worked with him for 2 years. He's a great guy. Once he started Legacy back up, I told him that I wanted to come back and be with him because what we were starting the 2 years before COVID, and then once COVID hit and everything, we had some really strong teams. And from the looks of tryouts, we have some very strong teams coming back as well. So I'm very excited to be able to get out here and work with all the boys and do everything like that. The way we've worked out the schedule is that I'm always going to be able to attend at least one practice. So you'll always be able to see me at least 1 year of practices, unless your team's practicing with mine, then I'll be at two. Other than that, just really, really wanted to stay with like the different color teams and everything like that. I've had teams where we started Division 3, and a lot of the kids are now on my 7th grade gold team that we just created now. That started out in Division 3, and they worked all the way up to Division 1, exact same team for the whole year, and they just continued to improve. So for the parents that aren't on the gold teams and not on the highest team, I would just say work. There's a lot of time from here to now, especially if we can offer some junior Puma to some of you guys. There's a lot of time to work from now until spring. So if the team that you're on right now, you're not happy with, or your kid isn't happy with, or whatever you're feeling about that, I would say let's just put in the work and let's get to work. But other than that, you'll be seeing me around a bunch. I'll always be there. Fridays when we have practices, helping out with everybody, doing a lot of work with the coaches, making sure they're teaching and we're progressing. I'll be at all the games, not all the games, obviously, because I'm coaching a few teams myself. But my goal is to be at as many games as I can be, to watch how the kids are putting what we learn into practice into the games. For those that don't know, I was a 3-year starter at Lehigh. Got scholarship to SUU that I had to turn down because I had a son coming out of high school, so I had to get a job. Landon hired me as a basketball coach, and that's basically all I've been doing since he's done that. I really know a lot about basketball. That's kind of my thing. If you want to talk basketball, I have a lot of stuff to talk about. So I'm really excited to get out there and meet a lot of you parents. Hopefully you guys can stay at some practices so I can get to meet a lot of you. But other than that, I'm just very excited to get this season started and see the potential of these teams and how much we can get better. So let me see. Lynn, that's all I had. Yes, so Ashley, practices will be held. We're going to send that out in the group me once Landon creates the group me's, but we do have practices locked down for each team, times, locations, everything like that, and that will be put into the group me. So that's going to be the easiest way. So we don't have to go team by team and let every team know when they're practicing. So, but other than that, LC, that's all I have, my guy.
Yes. So I know it's not going to make sense, but yes, we have put a lot of back and forth and movement into the practices, and we will be sending it because Corey did an amazing job. I know this doesn't make sense to anyone except he and I, but we have a very good practice schedule for you guys. We will send that out. I will so just where practices are. So we're only going to use 2 locations. We actually were able to consolidate all of our needs and sign a really good agreement year long with Athlos Academy and Hawthorne South Jordan, not the West Jordan, but where you guys came for tryouts. So we're only going to use Hawthorne South Jordan and Athlos Academy, and we are going to be consistent through the whole school year. So I know some of you guys that were here at the beginning or the first version of Legacy, we kind of got bumped around in the winter, and then we were able to move back into the school district in the spring because Junior Jazz kind of monopolized the city. But I've been able to network and connect with enough people that they said, hey, what do you need to run your program out of our facility from August to the end of May? And I sat down with them and we hashed out schedules. So our entire program is going to run out of 2 facilities. And for the most part, the older guys, 8th graders, some of the 7th grade teams will be at Athlos and Harriman. Most of us are going to be able to combine 2 practices at one time so we can warm up together, go team specific stuff, go through whatever you need to. And then if you want to work on stuff with live action, now that everybody's going to have their own system, then you'll have time to scrimmage and kind of go against each other, which would be nice because then it gives coaches opportunities to see other kids and say, oh, if we're short a big guy, then we know that guy can play. Or if we're short on our point guard, if our point guard gets hurt, then we know their point guard can come over and play with us. So it'll all make sense. That whole little, all those little green checks are all times that we have locked in for practice. And as Corey and I put the finishing touches on making sure the best coach for our 6th grade black team is selected, I'll just step in. I'll be helping the group. I'll get them going with some drills and some basic stuff that we really want everybody to lock in on: defense, shell drill, rotations, help side defense, digging, switching screens, getting up and guarding screens, hedging and recovering. Just like there's some real basic defensive fundamentals and principles that we want top to bottom, gold, black, or white, 5th grade, all the way up through our high school teams. And so we're going to start working on those next week. And then
Yeah, and I'll be there helping with that 6 black as well until we can find. So you're gonna have Landon and myself both helping until we can find a coach that we feel that is suitable to coach those boys, because we know we have that's going to be a really good team as well. So we're excited for all the teams we have, just so everyone knows.
So I know we had some really good ones, and honestly, you guys probably cut 20 minutes off of my presentation side with some of the questions, but I'll give you guys a couple minutes, 2 or 3 more minutes, to just throw any more comments in there real quick, and where's that? Okay. So this is my cell number. So just for anybody who needs it, who doesn't have my number already, just screenshot it or copy and paste it or whatever. I'll go off the master roster. I know some of you, like, I know that we had, who was it? It was, so Jamie, I know I didn't have you on the master roster. I had Joe on the master. So I'll add you to the master so that we can have you in there when we send out all the communication. Let me see some more questions. What teams are practicing together? Great question. I'll just kind of roll them off super quick for you. So fifth gold and 5th black will practice together. 6th.
Landon, I can roll over. I have them in my head.
Okay,
if you want me to. So both 5th grades will practice together. We have both 6th grades black practicing together and both 6 golds practicing together. We'll have 7th white, 7th black practice together. 7th gold and 8th black practice together. 8th gold and 9th gold practice together. So that'll be our practice. Who will be practicing together, and one of them might change, but we hope it won't. But other than that, that's normally who you'll be practicing with.
Yeah. And then, so that's Michelle. So Sean, we have, let me look at my notes really quick. Nope, not that one.
Oh yeah, we got a few 7th graders coming in, and then I have more writing me from the club that I have recently left. So 7th grade team will have some players coming in for it.
Yeah. Give us a week to get through some of the evaluations, and you'll start seeing the roster on that 7th grade team get bigger.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, a lot of these are going back up. So that's what we wanted to make sure everyone knew is that like if your team those we're trying to keep it as updated as possible, make sure everyone knows who signed, who hasn't. A lot of the teams have had a lot of people sign. Some of them had a few decline, but we do have new players coming in for evaluations that I know very well. A few of them, and then a few of them I don't know. So, which is a good thing, and we're excited. So, yeah, all teams should be able to get filled out by the time we start playing at least. So,
Yeah. So, kind of if in an ideal world, I think I have everybody's contact. If I don't, if you were one of the people that had to text me on Instagram or one of the direct messages on Facebook, just shoot me a text. Just say, Landon, this is so and so. TJ's dad had to do it. I thought I had all his information. Then I got in the master and I didn't. So he sent me a text. Um, yeah, that's if if you haven't heard from me or if you need to contact me, then feel free, shoot me a text. If and it's kind of rare, but there's times when my phone is on do not disturb. So if you need to message my other number that I'm more likely to answer after business hours because I do not disturb my phone automatically at 10 p.m. If you need to, just save the 432 number as the work number and then save the 385-464 number as my cell number. And you can text either one, you can call either one. I usually answer one or the other. So just make 435 my work number, make 385-464 my cell number. Just double checking first payment tomorrow. Yes, if you can, and you'll get added to a group me. And then if I go through and we add everybody to group me's off the master roster, but we still don't have everybody on there, I'll go through the text and I'll go through the direct messages and we'll make sure that everybody's added to a group me of one way or another tonight.
yeah, please download GroupMe and accept it as fast as possible. That way we can start getting messages out that everyone will see because GroupMe is a little sketch. And if you don't join before the messages are out, you might not see them. So please download and have it ready for tonight if possible.
And if you've had group me, it'll probably give me an opportunity to just add you into the group. So you'll just get a notification you've been added to 7th grade gold, whatever. If I have not had you in group me before, then you'll probably get a text message that says, hey, you've been invited to join Utah Legacy 5th Black JT. So if we have any teams that are the same color, gold teams, black teams, whatever, then the last part is going to be your coach's initials. So it'll be like CS if Corey's the coach. It'll be JT if Jordan's your coach, or whoever. So for the two gold teams, you'll be differentiated by those two initials at the end. Because if we have 5th grade gold, then we have to differentiate, and we don't want to say like A and B or gold 1 and gold 2, because most teams, if we have you in the same color, in the same grade, it's probably a pretty small margin of difference between the two. So just know if you get added to 5th or 6th grade is the biggest group. 5th fifth white or fifth gold, you're probably just going to see fifth gold in your group me because Corey's coaching the only fifth grade group in that age group. I mean, the only gold group in that age group. So it'll make sense when you guys get at it. And then we'll only send you links for your roster or for your uniform orders. And then guys that change, I'll find a way to, I'll put what their number was. I'll put Blake number 12. And then I'll say changing number, yes or no. And if you say no, then we know it's the same. If you change his number to 8, and then on changing number you put yes, then I know that he's ordering a different number. So we'll simplify that process for you guys. I'll leave it open for a few more minutes. If you guys have any more questions, let me know. And I'll answer a few on here because I got a few here. There we go. Okay. Carly, perfect. Thank you. Let's see that. I don't know if Nicole got in. If anybody that you know asks about the group me, I'm going to right next to the website, and I'm processing it. Hey, if there's anybody who works in the website world, knows how to do like domain names and forward domains and all that fun stuff, please message me because I cannot figure this thing out. And I've paid for everything and I do not know how to figure it out. So if you work in the website industry, message me, please. But right by where you guys saw your team placement on UtahLegacyBasketball.com, go back to the basketball page, and right next to the team placement, there's just going to be a button that says parent meeting. And so anybody who doesn't or who didn't get in, if they say, hey, what did they talk about on the parent meeting? You could say, oh, on the legacy.com page or UtahLegacyBasketball.com, it's on there and they can go back and watch it. So, okay. I think, okay, she did get in. She's with Sean. That's cool. Cool. Okay. Other than that, I'll let you guys go get your weekend started. I appreciate you guys taking the time out to jump on this call. I know it's not ideal to do these things on a Friday night, but we kind of fast pathed everything. We did tryouts earlier than almost every other club in the city. We're getting you guys on the court earlier than most teams on the city. We have super high expectations and things that we want to work on, and we're really, really excited. So I really appreciate you guys taking time to get out here and be on this call. Keep an eye out for those group me's. I'll post something on Instagram and Facebook, and I'll also just grab everybody's emails and send out a big blast and just say, hey, did anybody not get added to group me? Send me a message and let's make sure we got everybody accounted for and where they need to be by Sunday afternoon. So I appreciate it, you guys. Thank you. We are super excited. Thank you for your support and for coming and being part of our program. And all you new people will get to learn what the Legacy family is all about. And we have fun over here. So thanks, you guys. Take care. That's not the right one. Oh God, I can't get it. It's really happening. Zoom right there. Huge. This program. I am, for how much time I spend on computers. Ugh. Thanks, you guys.